So thank you for joining us today. FieldLevel webinar, first one during COVID, and it's titled "Placing Athletes During Challenges." We are here today to talk about these placing athletes during challenging times. And we know we've all been talking about it for a long time. We've heard it up and down about how difficult times are right now. And as coaches, and most of you here are coaches, what our goal is as coaches is to persevere, teach our athletes how to persevere, how to move forward. So today we're going to talk about how you can move forward in using FieldLevel and using this platform to help you during this time. My name is Jason French, and if I haven't had a chance to talk to you over the phone, or if you haven't had a chance to listen to any of our webinars in the past, I am a longtime high school football coach. I've been doing this for about 10 plus years. I'm now a current head football coach in the San Diego area. I've also been working for USA Football. It's a part-time gig, but during the spring and summer, they'll have me fly around, typically the West Coast, but as far north as Alaska, as far south as here, San Diego, and sometimes in different locations throughout the country. And I get to go and teach clinics to high school and youth football coaches around the nation about health and safety. I've been a couple times with the schools I've been a part of. I've been on a part of a couple of championship programs and had the honor to coach tons of great young men in the game of football. Some of them have moved on to play high-level Division I football, other divisions as well, and just overall, it's been an honor to coach those young men. So I've been in this game a long time, and then obviously I've been working for FieldLevel here for a little bit. I'm going on my third year, and it has been an honor and just a real fortunate thing for me to work with a bunch of people at FieldLevel that truly care, that truly want to help athletes and coaches in this process. And so we're excited to deliver some of this information to you today. So FieldLevel, for those of you who don't know, I want to touch on this. We serve 11 sports. As you can see, baseball, softball, football, basketball, so men's and women's basketball, men's and women's volleyball, men's and women's soccer, and men's and women's lacrosse. Our network serves over 76,000 teams, 140,000 plus coaches. We are inching our way towards that 1 million member mark, and we are at 74,000 plus commitments on our platform. So these are all numbers we're extremely proud of and wanted you guys to know about. So just in case you're a coach that, let's say you're a women's volleyball coach and you didn't know that we had softball, or we didn't know that we had women's soccer, go ahead and tell those coach buddies of yours on campus that we have these sports as well that we serve. So getting into about FieldLevel, and we're on the phones a lot, especially during COVID, and we'll talk about a little bit about some of our numbers during this time. But I like to make sure that we talk about who we are and who we are not. The recruiting landscape is a little, it can be a little confusing, and we want to make sure that we're very clear about who we are and how we are different from others out there. And so first we want to talk about we are a network. We are not a service. At FieldLevel, we do not watch athletes' game films. We do not send emails to coaches letting them know that they should recruit a certain athlete. Even though, I mentioned I'm a football guy and my specialty is quarterbacks. If a dad or an athlete contacts me and asks me to evaluate their film and let them know what level of play they can play at, I won't do it because that's not what we do. And so we are a network that's centered around coaches connecting with each other, coaches from high schools and clubs and junior colleges, connecting with college coaches from every division that's out there, Division I, II, III, NAIA, two-year level schools, and then nationwide about these athletes. So it is very much a network-based concept and not a service-based concept. We are not going to be the ones advocating on behalf of athletes. Next is to kind of touch back on that coach area is we are coach-centered. So the goal is for the high school, the club coach, and also the junior college coach or the two-year school coach who is also helping athletes matriculate on to a higher level of education, a higher level of athletic play. The goal is to keep them at the very center of the process. We know at FieldLevel, many of us are former athletes. Some of us are former coaches. All of us are lovers of sports, that we have had tons and tons of communication with college coaches, and we know that the college coach wants to learn about a potential athlete from the best resource out there, and that is the high school, club, or two-year school coach. And we know, and then we can equate this down to just what it's like as an adult and an everyday situation as an adult. If we want to go find a new job, our future employer or our prospective employer wants to learn about who we are from our references on our resumes, right? And so they're going to contact our old managers, our old bosses, for you coaches, your old principals, your old athletic directors, to find out what kind of person you are and if you are the kind of person that they want to bring into their institution, their program. So we are coach-centered. We know that you are the one that knows these athletes the best. You know what they're like on the field, on the practice field or court or game field or court, what they're like in the weight room, off-season workouts. If you're a teacher as well on campus as a coach, you know what they're like at nutrition and lunch. What are their teachers saying about them? You know their character, who they are on and off the field and on and off the court. And these college coaches want to learn about them from you guys. And then lastly, I want to make sure that you understand that we are all about targeted exposure. We want you guys to use the network because you're the one that's most important and you're the centerpiece of the recruiting process for these young people. We want you to collaborate with your athletes and then to get them targeted exposure. We don't want you mass blasting. Athletes aren't able to go mass blast anybody on our network either. They're going to rely upon the coach to go ahead and get their information in front of college coaches and let these college coaches know why they'd be the best fit. And again, the targeted fit. We want athletes to have the opportunity to go to a school that is going to benefit them for the rest of their lives. High school, numbers that go from a high school aged athlete and go on to play any level of college sports is a very small number. I mean, talking in football, it's somewhere in the 7%. Volleyball is 7.5%. I think baseball is in upwards of like maybe 11 to 12% of high school age athletes move on to play any level of college athletics. So it's an honor to get there and to go to a place that's going to catapult you into success in life is so important. So it's not about just mass exposure. It's about targeted exposure that's going to benefit that athlete in the long run. So recruiting right now, what's going on? I'll be real brief about this, as most of you know the landscape. Colleges aren't able to go out and go to high schools. They're not able to go to club or travel ball facilities. They're not able to go to showcases or spring practices or tournaments. They're not able to go out there and have that one-on-one touch point with you, the coach, or with the athlete. And those athletes, they're not able to come to campus at the college campuses to visit the school, to meet the coaches. They can't go on official visits, unofficial visits. Basically, all recruiting is only able to happen via technology. And what we have learned is that, and as I'm assuming most of you have seen, there's very much recruiting happening right now. And it is all happening via technology. And with FieldLevel, we have seen a big boom in activity in our network on all the different sports that we serve on our platform. We've had well over 1,200 posted recruiting needs, meaning college coaches are going into the site and they're posting either current recruiting needs, and we still have a ton of 2020 recruiting needs out there for you to look at. There is 20,000 members that have joined our platform within the last 30 days, 52,000 plus new follows. That means college coaches are finding athletes and then following their accounts, putting them on their recruiting boards, keeping an eye on them, and keeping track of what they're doing. And there has been over 280,000 plus profile views. I mean, that's a number that we've never had before in this amount of time. And it just shows that these college coaches, much like you, we're all chomping at the bit. All us coaches want to get out and compete. I asked a question earlier about what you guys want to do right away. And even though I said, don't just say coach, because we all know we want to coach. You guys still couldn't help yourselves. You guys can't wait to get back on that field or on that coach to be around your kids. Much like you, these college coaches, they're itching to get back on the field. They're itching to get back out on the road, to go meet new athletes, to find new athletes for their programs, to get them to the next level as well. And they're using FieldLevel to find these athletes. So it is happening on our platform, and you guys are in the right place at the right time during this quarantine time. So what can you do? Now we've talked a bunch about FieldLevel, our numbers, who we are, who we're not. But now let's get to the brass tacks. What can you guys start doing on FieldLevel to help not only yourself, help your athletes, but help your organization, your team overall? So first, we're going to talk about the profile, okay? The profile. You guys as coaches, you guys are able to get onto your athletes' accounts and you're able to monitor their profile, or we can call it mirroring their profile. You're able to get into their profile, you're able to make changes, you're able to see what they've done. You can make changes if you feel like there needs to be something added or subtracted from the profile. And everything that we have on the profile is there for a reason. And I like to go left to right, and I'm talking as if we're looking at it through the computer landscape of it. So we want every bit of that information to be there on the left-hand side. Their pertinent information, what positions they played, their contact information. We want you to make sure that their parent information is there, as parents are extremely important in the process. You guys are the most important when it comes to being that middleman, the gatekeeper, or the middle man or woman, a gatekeeper of the athlete, and the most knowledgeable person about the athlete. But these parents, they also have a role too in helping their athletes stay organized, making sure that they're getting back to coaches in time, and monitoring, making sure that the athletes are putting in the effort at home during this time. So we want to have the parent information there as well. Hobbies and interests. It may be the one area on our platform that people don't understand is there, but it is really important to add what your hobbies and interests are, or what the athlete's hobbies and interests are, because coaches at the college level will use that to start a conversation, to build a rapport, to make a connection with these young people. So very important to have that in there. Hobbies and interests, I've already talked about that, sorry. Honors and achievements. This is a place where athletes get to brag about what they've done during their high school age life. We recommend that you put what's gone on during the high school age years, not so much pre-high school, but you can talk about other sports that you've played, honors and achievements academically, honors and achievements maybe in school. Maybe you're serving on some kind of a school council, or they're in the ASB, or they've served in their community. They can put those honors and achievements in that area. That's an opportunity for these college coaches to look at the young man or woman as a whole person, not just an athlete. They want to know what these people are into, what these kids are into, and so they can see if they'd be a good fit for their program overall. Now, transcript. You can have an unofficial transcript put onto their profile. Again, we also have an area for GPA, SAT, ACT. If they've had the opportunity to take the SAT or ACT, they can put that information in there. But it's always important to have a GPA, and extremely important to have that transcript on there. Now, most athletes have the ability to get onto an online portal that their school provides for them to find their unofficial transcript. Or I'm assuming there's an ability for them to contact people that work in the front office. And sometimes this role is called the registrar, and they can find that person, email that person in the front office, and request an unofficial transcript in a PDF format, and they can post that transcript onto their profiles. This allows the colleges to go in there and make sure that the athlete is taking the core requirements and making sure that they're academically able to get into their academic institution. Next is the coach evaluation. This is so important. We talked about earlier, coaches, you are the most important person in this process. You know these athletes the best, and we have an area where you can talk about your athletes or write about your athletes to let these college coaches know who these young people are. And what's great about the evaluation is that this is private. Only the coaches at the high school or club, anybody on that staff, and the college coaches are able to read that evaluation. Athletes and parents cannot, again, let me repeat, cannot read these evaluations. So you as a coach can write an honest evaluation about who they are on and off the field or court, what they're like as a young person, talk about their character, talk about their skills, talk about their weaknesses. Let these coaches know at the college level what kind of person they'll be looking into and they're going to be getting in the recruiting process here from this young person. Again, very impactful ability for you to demonstrate your ability to talk about these young people, and for these college coaches to learn about them, and then contact you if they have any more questions. So next up is what we do in the middle of our profile. And again, this is what I'm talking about from a computer standpoint, if you're doing this on a computer or a laptop. And again, we also have our app on tablets and on our phones. But having film is arguably the most important thing to have on an athlete's profile. If an athlete doesn't have film on their profile, a coach can't evaluate them. No matter how great the evaluation was that you wrote and what we talked about earlier, they still have to see these athletes play. And again, you and I, we're all coaches here. we're all a bunch of people that love watching film, whether it's watching film to get us ready for next week's game or the next upcoming game. So if we're watching our opponent, if we're watching our own team and practice our own team's game, our game experience, and to see, what we need to do and fix in that game with our athletes, we all need to see film, and so do these different college coaches in order to evaluate these athletes. So whatever film you have, get it up. Tell your athletes, get that film up, whether they have just a little bit of film or a lot of film. Make sure to get that film onto these field level profiles. So now college coaches can go in there, they can see the information about the athlete, they can watch the athlete, and they can read your evaluation about the athlete, all in one-stop shop of information for them. And now, how do you do that? How do you go about adding film? Now, both you, the coach, and the athlete can go ahead and do this. But the way you go about adding film to an athlete's account is you will go ahead to the website wherever you store your film. So most impactful or most common is Huddle and YouTube. So you go to your Huddle page, you go to your YouTube page, you select the link of that film, and then you paste that link into the paste a YouTube Huddle or website link here, which is showcased in the white box on the left-hand side of the page. Once you put the link in there, you post to timeline, you click that button, post a timeline, the video will then appear in the profile as you can see below. And then that means, again, college coaches are able to get everything they need all in one place. Evaluations, film, and information about the athlete, especially about their GPA and academic standing. So next up, what else can you guys do when it comes to what you're able to do during this time while you're all at home and trying to find ways of helping your athletes and using FieldLevel to move about helping your athletes during this recruiting process? Well, next up is communicating with families. So how do you do that? First, we want to discover goals. We're going to talk about an alignment meeting, and then preparing and having a schedule moving forward with that. So alignment meeting. So this is what we want to talk about is you, the coach, organizing a time to meet with families and athletes about their recruiting desires. Being on the same page is so important. You having an idea about your athlete and the athlete's parent and the athlete having another idea, that's going to cause some issues. So making sure everyone is on the same page or regarding this path of recruiting is very beneficial. And we believe at FieldLevel that our website doesn't just help coaches send athletes on to different programs or get them more exposure and more opportunities. We also believe that FieldLevel brings people together. And it's not just coaches networking together, but it's the athlete and the parents and the coaches networking together and building a relationship around the recruiting process. And so let's talk about some of the things you can do in an opportunity and alignment meeting, much like a Zoom meeting or a phone call or a FaceTime meeting with these families. So first, let's talk about some of these things that should be in the alignment meeting. So things that you should have on your mind as a coach when you talk to these parents and athletes. So what level does the athlete want to play at? And does that match your projection of that athlete? So does the athlete believe that they're a Division I athlete? Maybe they do. I remember when I was 16 years old, I thought I was going to be the next Joe Montana. I thought I was going to go to the University of Notre Dame, be the next Joe Montana, and win 5 Super Bowls for the 49ers. Basically, I thought I was going to be the current day Tom Brady. Things changed. And if I had those thoughts and if I were to have a meeting with a coach, he'd probably have to sit me down and tell me, hey, Jason, that's not quite what's going to happen for your athletic future. And so it's an opportunity for you to have those real conversations with these athletes about that. Now, the alignment can meet there. The athlete could believe that they're a Division I level athlete, and you could believe the same thing, so you're on the same page. Or the athlete could believe they're a Division I athlete, you believe they're a Division II athlete. So then you need to have a conversation about, what that athlete's shortcomings are that makes them more along the lines of a Division II level athlete or 3 or NAI or whatever the case may be. So you guys are on the same page moving forward, because when you do move forward and you do start promoting, you, the coach, your word very much means something on our network. And you can't promote an athlete to schools that you don't believe that they can play at. So again, great opportunity to talk about this. And with that, I'm assuming all you coaches on here know, and some athletes just don't have this mentality yet, that playing college athletics, no matter what the level is a true honor. It's an achievement that not very many athletes get to have. And again, I talked about the low percentage of young people that get to move on from high school age athletics and move on to college level athletics. It is a small amount, and it is an honor no matter what they play at. And I encourage you to let those athletes know that when you guys have this conversation. Next, does the athlete have any interest in places you have personal connections at? Now, at FieldLevel, we know that, and I know that, if you know a coach personally, you've built a friendship prior to FieldLevel or in your life, that maybe making a phone call or a text message to that friend that's a friend of yours, that coach that's a buddy of yours, is going to carry a lot of weight. And does that athlete have any interest in those schools? That's something to know about, going into this process, because you can make a phone call with that one friend where a lot of the other coaches around the nation, probably most, because there's literally thousands and thousands of coaches in the country, where you're going to have a lot of benefit using FieldLevel to expand your recruiting reach. But does that athlete have any interest in your own personal touch points, your own personal relationships in the coaching world? Next, do the athlete and family have a recruiting plan themselves? Like, what's their plan? Have they thought this through at all? This could be an opportunity to hear what they have to say and just learn about, what these parents' goals are for their athlete as well. Moving forward here, what majors are the athletes interested in, or the athlete interested in? Do they have multiple majors? Is there just one major that, like, I want to be an engineering major, period? And so that's going to help you guys as coaches know what schools would be a good fit for them based on their major. Why send promotions and get your athletes in front of schools that don't have the major that they're not interested in? So it's going to be beneficial for you guys as a coach to learn about what these athletes are really focused on or interested in studying moving forward. And again, these athletes, when you're talking to them, they don't have to have their whole life figured out. Again, these are going to be 15, 16, 17-year-old young men and young women. They're not going to have it all figured out. So having a list of ideas of what they're interested in and helping them understand that, or hopefully their parents and them have had a conversation about this as well before they have a conversation with you. So, but having that knowledge is going to be helpful in making sure you get them in front of the right programs and the right schools. Next, what's the family's financial situation? Now, it is none of our business as coaches to look at their W-2 to see their tax return, right? That's none of our business how much they make. But there is going to be a helpful tool in you guys knowing what they're willing to spend on college. Now, many of us, and even many of the parents, have a misunderstanding about the idea of having an athletic scholarship. We all see the major sports on television, and a lot of these major sports have athletes that are receiving a full ride scholarship. Their school, their tuition, their room and board is paid for. But many, and I would say a large majority of the athletes playing college level athletics are receiving some form of financial aid, or an athletic financial aid or academic financial aid through playing a sport, but it is not total. And so having the idea of where these families are able to feel comfortable in spending money for their son or daughter's schooling is going to be important. So using a round number here and just kind of making this make more sense. Let's say there are schools out there, you're promoting these athletes to schools that are $50,000 a year, but you know that the family that you're dealing with is only willing to spend $20,000 in tuition and their athletes going to go on to college. So if a college reaches out to you, says that they're interested in an athlete and they're willing to give $20,000 in financial aid packaging, you know that you need another $10,000 in order for this family to feel comfortable in entertaining this school as an option. So that leaves you the opportunity to go back to that coach and say, hey, coach, we really appreciate your interest. We're all honored by it, and we're grateful for it. But I need to let you know that unless you come up with another $10,000 in financial aid packaging for this family, they're not going to be able to really take this consideration or take this school into consideration. So you can use that as bargaining power. You can use that as a piece of information in your tool belt as you are moving forward and talking to these different colleges. Next up, where geographically does the athlete want to play? Or where geographically will the parents be okay with them playing? There's no point in you, let's say a coach in Florida, there's no point in a coach in Florida promoting an athlete to colleges in the state of Washington if the parents and the athletes aren't okay with that athlete leaving that far away to go to school. Some parents are going to have a mileage, a radius rule, an hour by flight rule, an hour by drive rule, maybe a state that touches them rule. This is all going to be something you should talk about. And then you might have parents and that are willing for their athletes, and the athletes are willing to go anywhere. That really helps you knowing that you can promote this athlete and get that athlete exposure all over the nation. But that's good to know this information so you don't spend your time, generating opportunities for athletes in locations across the country where they won't be interested in playing. And the next, do any other info athletes would like colleges to know? And I've got a really funny story on this. I talked to a dad and a kid a while back, and they really wanted to make sure that their coach knew, and that we knew at FieldLevel, or at least there was a place to put this on the FieldLevel profile, that this young man, it was into the rodeo. He liked doing rodeo activities. And so he was a football player. He's a quarterback, actually. And he wanted whatever college that he went to know that, yes, I'm a quarterback, and I know, and as a quarterback coach, we kind of treat quarterbacks with kid gloves, and we want to put bubble wrap around them, and we protect them a lot. And so he wants these college coaches to know that wherever I go to play college sports, I'm gonna participate in this passion of mine, which is the rodeo. And so this is another thing when it comes into other areas of life, that you may be going to a college. Let's say you go to a college in Chicago, and you want to be near a school near Chicago because you really want to go and intern at companies that are Chicago based. And so when you let that coach know, yes, I want to come play for you, but I need you to know that I want to take an internship during the summer at this company for this, this organization. And you need to know that in advance, because this may cut into maybe some of my practice time or some of my off-season weightlifting time. And if it's okay with you, then it's okay for me to continue moving forward in my interest in this school. So these are things that you should know as well as the high school and club coaches and two-year school coaches, knowing what these side interests are, to let these coaches know at the four-year school, so they're not going to be shocked or surprised when that athlete comes on campus, or even when the athlete has the opportunity to start communicating with that coach of what other interests they have what they're going to pursue in college. All right, so we've had that alignment meeting with these parents, these kids. You've put together a list and information about how to help these young people move forward. So how do you start researching schools and target schools? Athletes are able to do this. You're able to do this on FieldLevel as well. You've got the projected alignment. You know where you guys have come together. You know where this athlete can play at. They agree, or you guys have some level of agreement on that. You understand where the athlete is willing to play geographically, what study of interest they have, where their finances kind of are. Again, I wouldn't push too hard on the finances, as that's a very personal subject, but having an understanding, again, of what these parents are willing to do moving forward. And now you guys can start finding the right fit. And again, we talked earlier in one of our beginning slides about targeted exposure. We really want to make sure, and I use this phrase, and some of us around FieldLevel use it as well. We talk about the right fit, but I like the 40-year fit as opposed to just the 40-year fit. What is going to benefit the young person for the rest of their lives? And so now that you have this information, now we can move forward in finding the right fit. And you can use FieldLevel to start using our college search tool to find this information. Along the left-hand side here are filters where you can go and break down different options and use the different filters to find good opportunities for these athletes and to look into, and for you, the coach, to look into as well. You can use this. You can find some opportunities and ideas. You can research a school and realize that, hey, this might be a good fit for my athlete. And you can let that athlete know that it would be a good fit. And moving forward, they can go ahead and put that school on their target school list. And this is a view of the target school list here. And what a great thing about the target school list is, even though you, the coach, can't go onto the target school list and make changes like you can in the athlete's profile, you can monitor the target school list, where this gives you information of the schools that they've put on their rankings here. And the athletes can rank them. They can have as many as they like on here. We recommend athletes, and we also recommend that you recommend to the athletes that they have at least 20 on here, because what happens with our target school list for athletes is when an athlete adds a school to their target school list, It notifies the college that this athlete is targeting them. It does not let the college know what other schools are on the target school list, and it does not let the college know what rank they are. All they know is that that this athlete is targeting their school. So from here, it also helps you, the coach. Let's say you guys have not had the conversation, that student athlete coach alignment meeting, or the student athlete family coach alignment meeting. You can go onto their target school list and you can kind of see, get a quick glimpse of where this athlete is interested in going and what level of play they think they can play at, what geographic locations. So again, that can trigger a conversation as well, where you guys either are on the same page of projected level of play or not. This also, we have a sliding bar here, and again, this is just a screen grab of the target school list here. But athletes are able to put in on the sliding bar whether it's just a target, if this target has now gotten in contact with them, if that target school has offered them, and if they've ultimately committed. So next up here is the view that I wanted to show everybody, and I mentioned it in the slide before, is that athletes, when they do put a school on their target school list, they can go ahead and get themselves on the school's target school list themselves. So now the school can go in there and they can see that these specific athletes are targeting their school. And so this is a screen grab from a college coach side, and they're able to look at my recruits, which right now isn't highlighted. The targeting TSJC is targeted, so that's the college coach here. So they're able to see what athletes are targeting them. But other buckets there, they're also able to see, the different athletes that they're following in my recruits, and then they can also search for athletes in the all athletes area. But again, very helpful for colleges, because they'll go in here sometimes. College coaches don't want to waste their time in recruiting, so why go after an athlete that doesn't want to be at their program? So sometimes they'll go into this area and just look for athletes right away that are already interested in them, that meet the needs that they have for their current recruiting class. So different things that you coaches now can do, some more like hints for you guys to do to keep yourselves busy on field level. First up, start making new connections, and I recommend finding coaches on field level. So going to the search coaches area, using our filter feature, finding coaches in geographic locations that you don't have a connection base in, of the level of play where you do have athletes that meet that level of play. So let's say I'm a high school football coach in San Diego area here. I've got the Southern California area kind of wired in for coaches. I know them. I don't need to connect to them right now. But you know what? I got a bunch of kids that are Division II level athletes, and some of them are really interested in playing on the East Coast. So I can go search for college football coaches in the East Coast states that are coaches at the Division II level, and I can start connecting with those coaches, so I can then promote my athletes and showcase those athletes to those coaches to see if they'd be interested in recruiting my athlete. So start making new connections. Review open needs. I mentioned earlier, we've had the most recruiting needs posted on our website in a 30-day period than ever before, but we've got thousands of more on there as well. So go in there and find, under the recruiting needs section, you can filter that down as well to, let's say you have an athlete in mind, you can filter it down to the grad class that they are, what position they are, geographic locations or vicinities around the nation where you're interested in looking at, seeing if there's needs are open. And if there's a need open and that college coach has a specific need open, you've read their description, and you feel that you've got a kid that's the right fit, you can go ahead and promote that athlete in a targeted way to that school. Next, besides just reviewing open needs and promoting to that specific need, you can also just do, generic promotions to college coaches because you feel you have an athlete that's ready to be a part of their program. So maybe they don't have a posted recruiting need up, but you feel you have an athlete that would be a good fit. You could send them that athlete and let them know that you've got an athlete in your program that can benefit them in the upcoming years. So you can let them know that through our version of promoting. So some other things here that you guys can look into. The field level team has put together some articles and some information during this time. So you can go through and find information about COVID-19 and how it's impacting recruiting and things you can do. Recruiting.fieldlevel.com is the website. We have a recruiting guidance page there. We have a lot of other articles in there that you can read and look through for education. And then we also have all the main social networking sites that you can follow us as well. As we continue to update information, not only what's going on during quarantine and during the craziness of the recruiting world right now, but also just in sports in general and what's going on with FieldLevel as well. So you can go at FieldLevel. We are on Facebook. We're on Twitter, Instagram. We're also on LinkedIn. Lastly, as our last plug here of stuff that we've got going on our network or on our website, we did a recent roundtable discussion. Our CEO, Brenton Sullivan, did a roundtable discussion with these 3 coaches about the state of recruiting during COVID-19. And this is just more of a generic conversation about how these coaches are operating, things that are going on in their lives, and how they're responding to it during this time while we're all shut down. So we're going to move into the question and answer area here. This is where you guys can now open up that chat box and you can start asking questions. My request to all of you when it comes to questions and answers, or the questions and answer portion of this demo or this webinar, is if you have a specific question, use this contact information here to schedule a conversation with us, and we can dig into what your specific needs are. If you have a very generic question that we can answer, I'd love to do it here and then educate others as well. But please use this contact information to schedule a one-on-one demo with me or somebody on our team, and we can answer specific questions to your program. We can also talk about our team premium benefits and how that will benefit your athletes, you as well. We can do that again by one-on-one demo, which has been a very impactful way that a lot of our coaches are learning about our platform and answering more specific